Greenawalt, the creative director at Turn 10, and we make Forza Motorsport. So I think racing is doing really well in today's day and age. I mean, people love cars, there's a lot of racing games coming out, and what's cool is you've got a choice. Now with Forza Motorsport 5, our goal is to really push innovation, so we don't tend to look at competition as much. We think about the cloud and how we could use that for AI. We look at the graphics and having a solid 60 frames per second at 1080p. We also think about multiplayer, dedicated servers, and of course physics. You know, it is a simulator when it comes to Forza Motorsport 5, so having physics that just couldn't even be done on the last generation hardware was really important to us. So obviously racing games have been around at the launch of consoles for a long time. Project Gotham Racing, Project Gotham Racing 3, Ridge Racer. You know, our goal was to do something very ambitious, to bring Forza Motorsport 5, a flagship, an epic, giant simulator at the launch of the Xbox One. It's very ambitious, it's also very hard to do. But the cool thing for our fans is they get a great game. As soon as they start the Xbox One, they know what they're getting because of the quality that we put into our product. And for people that are not familiar with Forza Motorsport 5, they're going to be introduced to the type of car culture that we bring people. So I think Forza 5 will gain a lot of fans who don't necessarily pick up racing games, but they want to pick up Forza Motorsport 5 because it looks so good on their new console, the Xbox One. One of the great things about working on the Xbox One for Forza Motorsport 5 was it's obviously a more powerful console. And that allowed us to make a custom engine specifically to look amazing, show off the materials and the light and the atmosphere while running at 1080p and 60 frames per second. But more important, we have a direct connection to the cloud. And that allows us to innovate. You know, honestly, we as game creators are like tinkerers. We like to play with technology to create new experiences for our fans. And with an easy connection to the cloud, we could innovate new ideas like Drivatar, cloud-based learning AI, and it totally changes how you race. I mean, I've been talking about it for months, but honestly, as people have been playing it the last week and I've been watching fans, I can see how it's really changing the racing for them. Our goal in Forza Motorsport 5 was to bring innovation in all areas. But the thing I think I'm most excited about is the Drivatar itself, because it really changes how you race. They challenge you, they drive like people. It feels like the best multiplayer race you ever had. And it also creates a social connection, because when your friends and your family show up in your race, even when they're offline, you have a conversation to have afterwards. Now at root though, I'm kind of a physics junkie too, so the things that we're doing in physics that just aren't even possible on last gen hardware, that's pretty exciting for me because I like to turn off the assists. I like that path of mastery and the precision required to really get behind the wheel of a car. Forza Motorsport 5 was custom made for the Xbox One, and part of it was we like to be on the cutting edge, and we want to bring new experiences to our players. So that means innovating, and it needs power at times, so having the new console with all of its power, as well as the connection to the cloud, allowed us to create new experiences that we hope will really excite racing fans, and even people that are not really into racing, but are just first getting into the Xbox One for the graphics, or for the gameplay, or the multiplayer, and getting into racing for the first time. We never really considered bringing Forza Motorsport 5 to the Xbox 360. We started working on this before we even shipped Forza Motorsport 4, knowing that we wanted to be there on the Xbox One with all this power and with all these toys we could play with. Things like Smart Glass, things like Kinect, things like the cloud. The rumble triggers. I mean, the rumble triggers really change the way you play the game. They make you a better driver, they make you more immersed. So having all of these new toys to play with allows us to create a very innovative product. Obviously, games are a social endeavor. Even when people do it in their, in their den or in their living room and they play alone, even when they're independent, they still talk with their friends about it, so it becomes something you talk about. So social's been gaining more and more importance in the gaming industry. In Forza Motorsport 5, every time you race, you're training a Drivatar. And that Drivatar shows up in your friends' races, your family's races, with your livery, with your car, and drives the way you drive. So if you're a rough driver, it's going to drive roughly, and that means that you have a conversation with your friends. But also we have asynchronous play, Rivals mode. Rivals happens every time you race in career, so at the end of a career race you can just instantly challenge your friends, and that one's actually directly the exact lap that they did, and you can then win money off beating your friends. Of course, we have 16-player multiplayer. So that gives you big, fast and fair multiplayer with smart match and dedicated servers. So really, social has taken over many, many aspects of the game. It's infused into the single player, and of course, it's a major part of multiplayer. So as a developer, obviously, I've got a unique perspective on what it means to make games, be it for PC or console or even the console generational leap. Our goal is to actually deliver wonderful experiences to our players, and I used to make PC games actually. 15 years ago I was actually working on PC games, and the issue is when you don't have a stable platform, something you can really build a custom engine for, it's harder to optimize, and you spend a lot of time chasing this different hardware spec and that different hardware spec. So what we get with the Xbox One, same thing we got with the 360, is a platform that you can keep optimizing and really trick it into doing things that aren't possible on other platforms. This is where I think people get fooled about what is important with regard to power. When you look at Forza Motorsport 2, and then Forza 3, and then Forza 4, the game got radically better looking. But did the console get more powerful? Of course it didn't. What happened was we became better at optimizing for the box. We share tips and tricks with Epic and with other developers, and all of us learn how to make the box better. That's harder to do when the platform underneath you is shifting, when there's these options and those options. You can turn this on and turn that off. You don't know what the hardware is. There may be an SLI'd card. It's not that it's impossible, but it's very difficult to optimize for all of those different specs. So one of the reasons I like making console games as a creator is we can focus on innovation by really having a stable platform.